Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to Cooking with Jeremy. Today we are going to be making some Spanish rice jambalaya, or how my family likes to call it, Jeremy jambalaya. The ingredients for this recipe are pretty simple and really easy to get, so it should be a very simple recipe to make for anybody. And here are all the ingredients we need to make Spanish rice jambalaya. We got our onion and peppers. We got our Spanish rice. We got chopped green chilies. And we got beef smoked sausage. We're going to be using a pan and a cutting board for the vegetables and the sausage. Alrighty, the very first thing we'll be doing is cutting up the sausage. Now these are pretty simple to open up. Now, we always want a trash bin when you're cooking. So I'm gonna grab one right now as I start cooking. Trash bin, put it in there. All right, go ahead and start on cutting. Very first thing that we're gonna be doing to this sausage is just cutting up into slices. That's all we have to do. Normally I start from the middle here, and I start from the end. You want to make them relatively thick. Gives a little bit of chew to the jambalaya. All right, and we're going to want to put these directly in the pot. Don't gotta make them perfect. We're not a 5-star restaurant. Alrighty. We have our sausage in the pot, the pan. Now we're gonna go ahead and go for the vegetables. I'll start off with the peppers. We're going to be dicing the peppers and again, putting them straight into the pan. Now the sausage I put in there is pre-cooked. That's why I'm gonna be cooking these, the vegetables and the sausage at the same time, because we do not need to necessarily cook the meat that we got. All right, trash bin, very easy. All right, we're gonna be dicing these. This is how I have normally diced. Get them into a good fajita styled strip. And just take a whole bunch of them and start cutting them. If you want to make them smaller, what you can do is do a quick, like that. Now normally, I make a double batch of jambalaya, but for this video, I'm just going to do the normal one batch. This very last part, a lot of times I would throw this away, but I'm going to be using it. The more the merrier. Now I did show 2 peppers at the beginning, but because we're only doing one batch, we're only doing 1 pepper. For this onion, we're only going to be doing half an onion. Just half of this onion we're going to be doing. This is a very large onion. Very simple way to get some skin off of an onion. First, cut both sides. I feel like we're wasting some onion there, but it's inevitable. Now that you cut both sides and you cut a slit inside here, you're able to take this whole part off. Poof. Alrighty. Again, just half of the onion. Put the others to the side. And dicing. Now it's relatively simple to dice onion. What you want to try to do is cut it all the way before it hits the bottom here, so that you can keep it in line. This is a little bit more difficult. Yeah, right there, I just cut it. Now, turn it. And we're going to do our best to dice this. Just like the peppers, you can go ahead and do a little bit of wild dicing, but you can see that basically, if you just break these apart, that's diced. Go ahead and put this in. And this is how, relatively, the pot should look like. And we can go ahead and break up more of these onions. As the beginning of the video you saw, make sure you wash your hands so that you can be able to do stuff like this. All right, time to get on the stove. Now that we have the pan on the stove, we're gonna start it on medium heat. So if you have a normal stove, it's gonna go from low to high, from 1 to 9, put it about 5 or 6. We're gonna use one of our trusty kitchen utensils here. You can use either wood or plastic. Do not use metal because metal will mess up your pots. Metal against metal is not a good thing. So plastic or wood. Now that this is on, we're gonna leave this here for a while. If you want to, you can add some olive oil or you can add some salt. But because we're already going to be using a lot of seasoning in this, we shouldn't need any of that. Now we're going to be waiting about 7 minutes or so, stirring every once in a while. We want to wait until the onions look caramelized. That means that they're see-through. Pro tip for anybody cooking. Clean as you go. So this, we can throw in the trash while that's warming up. We can go ahead and clean our cutting board. We can go ahead and put away our onion while we wait. We can go ahead and open up these cans also from the green chilies. Have them all ready to go. It's so that to see that the onions start to caramelize, which means that they start going see-through. You see some of that here. A little bit see-through there. We're gonna have that go maybe another minute or two, and we're gonna be putting the green chilies and the Spanish rice on it. Now, if you're making a bigger serving than this, you're definitely gonna want a pot rather than a pan. I'm using a pan because it's the very first way that I learned how to do it. And in general, it should be easier, but a pot is definitely what you want to use if you're making a bigger serving. So more or less, that's good. We're going to put the heat down to a little bit below medium. Don't want too much steam coming up when we're putting the green chilies. Now, we're going to be putting the green chilies, and this is going to be putting a lot of moisture in. There's one. Now we want to put some Spanish rice in it. Get all the meat and the green peppers and the onions covered in the Spanish seasoning. This is where the seasoning comes in. This is why, in general, you don't need to season the peppers before you put this in. Because here's where all the seasoning is at. See all that good stuff. Oh, it already smells good. Second thing of green chilies. And second bag of Spanish rice. It has happened before. I don't know why it varies, but sometimes it can come out too dry. As in, the rice doesn't have enough moisture to get wet, and the rice is still hard. So if you think that there isn't enough moisture in your pot to get all the rice to get wet, then you can go ahead and put maybe a cup of water in here. I think I'm going to go ahead and put half a cup of water just to make sure that it is good and all the rice has moisture in it. Just a half cup of water. Actually, even less. I'm only putting a quarter cup of water in it. I cover it. And we're going to wait on, again, low heat low to medium heat. We are going to keep that there for about 15 minutes or so. Now, while we wait these 15 minutes, I'm gonna open this maybe once or twice to stir it. But there's not too much need to do that. All you need to do that is after the 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, we're gonna just let it sit with no heat, still with the cover on it. We're just gonna let it stand for about another 15 minutes. This Spanish rice jambalaya recipe was my very first recipe that I made completely by myself. One day, when my mom went out of town and my two older brothers and my dad were home, she gave me this recipe and say, hey, you make food for everything. I was 12 years old and I was like, okay, I'll try. And ever since then, everybody has loved it. That's why it has gotten the nickname Jeremy Jambalaya, because it is my signature meal that everybody loves. So it's been 15 minutes. Let's see how it is. Yes, it has this good gooiness to it. Now that gooiness will go down a little bit when you let it sit some. But now that the time's done, it more or less looks done. We're gonna go and turn off the heat. We're not gonna take it off the heat. We're just gonna leave it there. We're gonna put the cover back on. And we're gonna wait another 10, 15 minutes or so. It's been about 10 minutes. Go ahead and open this up and see how it is. Yeah, got some moisture on the pot right there. That's good. Very good. All right, I'm gonna take a big spoonful. Now, this jambalaya is 100% good by itself. It has rice, which is a starch, meat, which is protein, and vegetables. So it's completely good, and or you can put it on a side for something, but almost always I have it just as its own. I haven't made this in a little bit. I miss it. The meat just goes so well with it. All right, that, give me another bite. That is Spanish rice jambalaya, or Jeremy jambalaya. As you can see, I have a pretty full bowl of that, and plenty more. So this can be 4 plus, 4 very healthy men when I made it, but probably more than that if you're not feeding teenage guys. So this whole meal takes about $15 to make. Now, I would say that's a pretty good deal for such a tasty meal to feed the whole family. If you're an entrepreneuring chef, then you can go ahead and add some of your own stuff to it. You can add some jalapenos if you want to make it more spicy. You could add more seasonings. You can add shrimp. You can add a bunch of different meats. It's a very, you can play with it a lot to do what you want with it. But this is the very basics of how you make it. Also a very good batch cooking meal. Really good leftovers. Almost loses none of its flavor. All right, thank you everybody for watching, and stay tuned for some more recipes.